Welcome to streetcombattraining.com. In this program, we're going to be looking at real-world armed assault, weapon attacks. Now, what most people don't realize is that most armed attacks aren't planned and aren't carried out by a person carrying an actual weapon, knives and handguns. What happens is most acts of violence are spontaneous. That's why there are less armed assaults. And the most common form of weapon attacks are actually common implements that you can find all over the urban environment. The first category is glassings, which is a really common form of what I would call fist loading. Somebody picks up something, commonly a beer mug or a bottle, and hits the other person with it, trying to make the force of the blow cause more damage. Then we're going to move to what we call the white collar shanking. By definition, a shank is an improvised stabbing weapon, like the pen and pencil, screwdrivers, forks, things like that. Pencils and pens, we're going to call the white collar shanks because you find them in white collar environments as well as anywhere else. Schools, office places, they're very, very common. Then we're going to move to the blue collar shanks. These are usually metal. The most common one being the screwdriver, but also the fork, as we mentioned, and scissors. Every home has these implements in them, most offices, things like that. Then we're going to move into common slashes. By definition, shanking can't involve a slash because there's no edge on it. When you find things like actual knives, broken glass, then the slashing actions become very, very common. Clubbing. Clubbing is simply a heavy object with some kind of handle. Trophies, larger bottles, things like that are very, very common, and they involve some kind of one-handed swing. When we get to the two-handed swing, these are very dangerous. This is the baseball bat is common. In some countries like England, cricket bats are just as common. And we have golf clubs and 2x4s, very, very common. Chopping involves things like axes and spades. Less common a few years ago, but certain places are going through a real increase in the amount of attacks with axes. Places like Israel and South America, it's really increasing. And lastly, we have crushing. These are large, heavy objects, particularly chairs are common in North America, but any piece of furniture or something heavy that requires two hands. Then we're going to finish up with some threats that can happen, what happens when people use these implements to threaten you, if not necessarily attack you. And then we're going to finish it off with some ground defense. If things go bad, you find yourself in an even more compromised and dangerous position. That's going to be the topics we're covering today. Let's get started.